Now we'll say our blessing for Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. My favorite, the text that I just said of the blessing over the Torah, is that what you're asking for, Gabi? That is in anybody's Siddur, and I can also send that out. Oh, you mean for the Shema? I think I sent that out in the email, so everybody should have that. It's in English as well as in Hebrew. I can send it again, though. Happy to. My favorite video today that I saw was on Facebook, and it was a group of people returning on El Al to Israel, and the El Al flight attendant. I don't know if you've ever been on the El Al flight, but there's a very secular-looking guy with the Israeli flag on his shoulders, dancing through the aisles, singing a song, which I didn't recognize all the words, but it was basically, we have Emunah, Hashem will protect the Jewish people. I'm like, this is miraculous. I'm surprised the plane wasn't shaking. People were like dancing, and they're on their way back. Israel is the first nation in history during wartime to have more people return to the country than leave. And even though the United States had all these flights prepared that they're going to come and rescue all the people who want to leave Israel, it was like, no, the flights coming are more full. It's that's going in the opposite direction. The Jewish people are amazing. The most powerful statement that people have been saying over and over again has been, Mi ke'amcha Yisrael. Who is like your people, you God, who is like your people, Israel? That has just been unbelievable. Other sights and sounds this week were little kids reciting the entire Torah, similar to my grandsons and other people's on here's grandsons go to a school where they learn the entire Torah and they can recite it actually by heart. But they did it with the Chumash, and they recited the entire Torah all the way through from Bereshit until the end. These are like little 8-year-old boys, and then they had like snacks and Beasley and Bamba and drinks and all their snacky, salty, sweetie stuff to celebrate. And then at the end, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek, and that be strong, and we will strengthen one another. Little girls also saying Tehillim, saying Psalms. They keep coming to our door, asking, they're collecting food for the Chayalim, for the soldiers. I said, I gave them a box of cereal that I had from our grandchildren that they hadn't finished. I said, I just have this kind of semi-open box of cereal. They're like, okay, we'll take it for the soldiers. And tonight, I had a new task, which I've never done before, which is the soldiers that are staying here have dirty laundry. So I went to the place where they're staying to pick up my soldier's bag of laundry, which is currently in the washing machine. And I need to find the Army grade thread because he has a rip in his behind of his pants. And what kind of a Jewish mother could let their son go into war with the ripped pants? So I'm going to sew for him before I take it back tomorrow morning for them to wear. But it's a little funny having a strange man's like underwear and socks and all his stuff that I'm handling. It's very intimate to do somebody's wash. I'm like, oh, this looks like a pretty put together guy. Okay, so I don't know who he is. I don't know his name, but his laundry is in my dryer as we speak. So it's just a very interesting place to be. And I saw on Facebook, someone posted the answer to the question of, so how are you? And she made a list of about 60 different adjectives from A to Z, literally, starting out with angry, amazed, blessed, brokenhearted, caring, concerned, of everything, because you ask people like, how are you? It's like, well, let's see, this moment, okay, I'm okay. Next moment, I'm so heartbroken, I can't even move. I can't even think. So it is such a roller coaster, and everybody's tired because it takes a lot of energy to go on that roller coaster. My answer to that, of course, is to eat chocolate. That's how I deal with it. Everyone else finds their own way. But the Jewish people are amazing. And it is a constant, overwhelming expression of unity. We talked about last week, and it just continues, the soldiers who want tzitzit. They want the beged, the item of clothing that a man wears that's four corners with fringes, and they've gotten them in the army green so that they can, because you don't want bright white on the battlefield, that's a little bit too much. So they've gotten them, and the men, women, and children are tying the strings because they have to be tied a very specific way that represent all 613 of the mitzvot. And everybody wants one. Everybody wants one. And it is just unbelievable. I saw a beautiful sight of a Hasidic man. I don't know what kind of Hasid he was, but his Streimel hat looked like it was about like a 5-layer cake worth of fur, and like a beard, with his arms around his soldier son, kissing him goodbye before he went to the front. And it's just unbelievable, unbelievable. So we had a story here of a woman who did the laundry last week, and she returned it to the soldier, to the room where they all are. But the soldier went to the person in charge and said, I didn't get my laundry back. And she said, oh, let's take a look. What was it in? So it was in a grocery shopping bag, kind of like the equivalent of a King Soopers bag. So he's like, oh, I think maybe this is it. And he's like, no, that's not mine. Why not? Because it had a pair of tzitzis on the top of it. But it was a gift from the woman who did his laundry. And so he was so overwhelmed. They took this big picture of him with this big smile on his face that now he has tzitzis. So they're calling it the other bulletproof vest. Like, this is the vest that is really giving you protection. So this is the vest that represents the Jewish people. So it is just something to behold. People appearing with food for people, including my own nephews, at their places, like, I'm hungry, and then somebody's like, oh, they just went and got barbecue and they brought it all to the guys, and so they can have a snack and just have a little bit of relaxation. It's a group that goes in to pull out dead bodies that, you can only just do that work for so long, and then you need to take a break. And they got him a barbecue. So the outpouring of chesed and kindness is just flowing and flowing and flowing. And for that reason, my heart is so happy at the same time that it is so broken. It is so overwhelmingly feeling privileged and blessed to be here at this time. It's really something else. So that's the update for today. God willing, we will only have good news for us and all of Am Yisrael and the Jewish people, as we talked about last week. And as I'm sure you've heard, we are all connected. It's an illusion that you are where you are and that we're here, because the Jewish people are connected. You can tell by how the world reacts to Jewish people around the world. Nobody considers as they say, there is no daylight between us. There is no daylight between us. So we are all really in this together. We are told that in the Pirkei Avot, it says, Al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed. Upon three things, upon three pillars, the world is established. So the word omed means to stand, but it also means to be established. And when the world is faltering, especially when it is faltering, then especially these three things come into effect. One is al ha-Torah, on Torah, al ha-avodah, of serving, but this means in prayer, the al gmilut chasadim, and acts of loving kindness. Those three pillars are what hold up and restabilize the world. Torah especially, because it says Torah is eternal, and when we grab on to that which is eternal, we reaffirm and we enhance that eternality of the Jewish people. So people are taking Torah and they're studying on behalf of certain soldiers, or they're just doing whatever they want for all of Am Yisrael, saying Tehillim, which we talked about last week. I'll just remind you which ones. So the truth is, you can say any Tehillim that you want, any ones that you want. There are some that are specific that are recommended, but there's a whole list of them, 20. Psalm 20, Psalm 83, Psalm 121, Psalm 130, and Psalm 142. And I think you'll take a look at those and it'll seem like it was just taken out of the current events folder of how relevant and meaningful they are. So now we're going to have our Torah study, and it should be dedicated to my unknown soldier whose clothes are in my dryer, as well as to all of the soldiers. And those soldiers are you and I as well, since we are Hashem's army. Whether you're studying Torah at home, doing mitzvahs, counteracting the bizarre and cruel media coverage of Israel that jumps to bizarre conclusions about everything that we're doing. I'm hoping you all know that the attack on what was the so-called bombing that Israel did at the hospital was a Islamic Jihad rocket that went astray and landed. It was launched from a cemetery, and it went in. It did not hit the hospital. It hit the parking lot. The hospital is standing. There were people killed because there were people there, but it wasn't Israel. It wasn't the hospital, and it wasn't 500 people. You'd never know that from what the world has reported instantaneously after it happened. So they even have the recording of the Hamas people basically saying, Houston, we have a problem. We basically have a local hit from ourselves. So it's all recorded. There's visual recording, there's audio recording, there's everything recording. So you should rest assured, and you can let people know who somehow want to hold on to a different narrative, what the truth is. Torah. What do we have in this week's parsha is Parshat Noach. And in Parshat Noach, we know that Hashem is going to destroy the world. And at the beginning of Parshat Noach, it tells us why. On page 31 in the Chumash, which is chapter 6, verse 11, it says, "Now the earth had become corrupt before God, and the earth had become filled with robbery. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupted, for all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth." Where it says, "and the earth had become filled with robbery," the exact words there are, "Vatimale haaretz chamas," that the land was filled with Hamas. And that's the definition of robbery. It's also destruction, but that's what it is. And here we have in this parsha. So based on that, even though nobody in the Knesset has asked for my input on any of this, I thought that a really good solution would be if God could just arrange a very targeted tsunami in Gaza and just kind of take care of everything without harming any Israeli soldiers, and just goodbye. I don't think that's going to happen. And as I said, nobody asked my opinion, but I think given the parsha, that is what would help. For those who are so concerned about innocent people, you have to also check out the school plays that are done at the youngest level of children in garb, of military garb with guns, and what they're practicing doing is executing Israelis. They have somebody dressed as an Israeli with a little kibbutz hat on, with the person on their knees, and executing them. And the parents are clapping in the background. So you can say nobody can speak up because they're too afraid. So if you can't speak up, okay, I'm not here to judge that maybe, but nobody says you have to clap and cheer. Nobody says you have to teach your children to do this, and nobody says you have to encourage them. They're planning this attack for 2 years. I find it incomprehensible that nobody knew about it and wasn't cheering this on the whole time. It's not possible, the number of people who were involved in doing it. So are there innocent people? I'm sure there are, but in poll after poll, 75% of the residents of Gaza support Hamas, and they support Hamas's aims, which in its charter calls for the annihilation of the entire state of Israel. Has nothing to do with land, has nothing to do with borders, has nothing to do with a state. It has to do with annihilation, and annihilation of the Jews everywhere. So I don't know how much more clear things need to be for people, but clearly the world has not yet totally awakened. But hopefully, as long as you're awake and you can wake up whoever is around you, that's the most important thing. So the world is filled with Hamas, and God will destroy it, except he also promised he would never destroy the world again. So he's not going to destroy it. But we still see in this week's parsha that we have Hamas here. So the question is, what are we supposed to do? And where are our beacons of hope? And we have to look for in the Torah for that, because as we talked about last week, the history of the Jewish people runs differently than any other people on the planet ever did or ever will. So comparing anything to other nations makes no sense, because that's not who we are. So when we look in the Torah, what can we find out? Or if we look at this time, what can we learn? So what I'm going to do is share with you something that I heard from Rebbetzin Yemima Mizrahi, which I found was very powerful. We're now in the month of Cheshvan. The month of Cheshvan has no holidays in it. After last month of Tishrei, which already seems like it was an eternity ago, but remember, you would say to everybody, oh, I'll take care of it after the holidays, because we had Rosh Hashanah and we had Yom Kippur, and then we had Sukkot and Shmini Atzeret, Hoshana Rabbah, Shmini Atzeret, Simchas Torah, take down your sukkahs, like, talk to me after the holidays. The entire month of Tishrei is taken up with holidays, and we all had things to do. Blow a shofar, go to shul, make brisket, bake round challahs, fast, don't wear leather shoes, build a sukkah, shake a lulav, dance with the Torah. A lot of instructions, a lot of direction and framework for what we were supposed to do and how we were supposed to do it, and we did it. And then we come cold turkey to the month of Cheshvan. The month of Cheshvan has no holidays in it. It's empty of holidays. For that reason, the month is called Mar Cheshvan, which means bitter Cheshvan. What makes it bitter? It doesn't have any holidays in it. Right, exactly. Tishrei, Chag so many. Oh, that's very cute. I haven't heard that. Tishrei, Chag so many. So I think I've said over the years that when I worked at the First National Bank of Denver, at the time it was called that, someone in the personnel department came to me with a list of holidays that one of their employees had asked off for in the computer department. He said, this guy, who happens to be like somebody who I now know and didn't then, he said he needs off for all of these days. Are these like legitimate holidays? And I'm like, yep, they are. So at the time I wasn't observing all of them, so I was in a little awkward of a position, but yep, those are legitimate. So Tishrei is the time of holidays. Cheshvan is empty. What does that mean for us? What does that mean to have a month that is empty? So what Rebbetzin Mizrahi communicated, and others have as well, is that now is the time where we see what we do when we don't have a framework. What do we do when we don't have a framework, when we don't have any instructions? A lot of people in Israel, people here, like in our community, especially, I will say, especially the women, but other people as well, are saying, what should I be doing? Like, if you're in the army and you're in a tanker, or you're on the border, you know what you're supposed to be doing. But what are we supposed to be doing? This is the time when we do what we do when we don't have directions. And if we don't have specific directions, where does that come from? Where does the insight come from? And it says it specifically comes from the side of the women, that the month of Cheshvan is called the month of Rachel. The month of Rachel, because it is during the month of Cheshvan, the 10th of Cheshvan, is Rachel's, Rachel Imenu, Rachel, our mother's, it's her yortzeit. It says, look at Rachel. We know this story that when Laban was going to exchange Leah for Rachel with Jacob, that it was Rachel who came up with the idea that she should share the secret passwords so that her sister would not be embarrassed and Jacob would marry her. It says, who told her to do that? Who did she ask? It says, she didn't ask anybody. Now, we have a big tradition of asking rabbis for guidance in halakha questions, so we're not talking about that. But we're saying that there are times, especially times when it's unusual, or it's an emergency, or it is something where there's not time to ask, where we say, what should we do? And the answer is, what do you think you should do? The woman we spoke about last week who held off the hostages with cookies and tea, Who did she ask? Where did that come from? How did she decide to do that? She decided in her own head to do that, in her own heart. And she said that she figured a hungry terrorist is more dangerous than a not hungry terrorist. And she went with that. We see with Miriam that when she is down by the water's edge and she sees Pharaoh's daughter picking up Moshe, she did not go run home and say, Mommy, Mommy, Daddy, Daddy, what should I do? Pharaoh's daughter has Moshe. She decided what to do, and she took initiative of what she thought should be done. And everyone agrees that what she decided was right. What Rachel decided was right. Queen Esther, when she has her plan, Mordecai just says, you need to go to the king. She comes up with the plan of the banquet and asking Haman and Ahasuerus. She didn't ask Mordecai, well, what should I do? It came from her. It says, this is the gift. It says the woman's bina, this intuition of what should I be doing? And the what should I be doing doesn't need to be something that was like going to be splashed on the paper. It could be, you know what I need to do? I need to go take a walk so I can clear my head and think straight. I need to say a psalm. I need to make sure my children don't feel scared about being Jewish. I need to turn off my phone. I need to go call somebody who has family in Israel who's probably feeling really freaked out. I need to make a donation. I need. It's like, we can figure it out, and nobody can tell you what it is that needs to be done, because for each person, it's something different. And whatever Hashem puts into your head is going to be the right thing. It's going to be the right thing, and it's going to count, it's going to matter, and it's going to make a difference. And that this is what we need to know. Is the month of Cheshvan is all about this. Can you imagine? This is like kind of a weird question to ask. What if this happened during Tishrei and we're trying to have in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot? How's that going to work? I'm sorry, we're too busy. We can't do this. We've got too many other things going on. It's like, this is all happening, Dafka, the very moment the holidays end. It's like, here, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? This is the test. What are you going to do? So does it require thinking? Does it require reflection? Yes. It could be, what I need to do is to work on myself. What I need to do is make sure that I'm not shooting missiles from my mouth of Lashon Hara. Okay. I'm not being destructive in my words to other people, that I'm not pushing people away and making them and alienating them in my life. There are so many ways to understand this. And if somebody wants to know what they should do, you're welcome to talk to somebody about it. But I'm really suggesting you will know exactly what you're supposed to do at any given moment. And it can vary from day to day. I saw a young woman today, she has 4 kids. I saw her in the elevator. Her husband is not called up, he's American. And I said, how are you? And she said, okay, I'm good. She was, but I feel kind of guilty feeling good because everything's so horrible. But, you know, I have to be okay because of my kids. I'm like, that's exactly right. They're not fighting this war, so we are sitting to be sad. So there are moments for sadness, just like on Sukkot when we read Kohelet. There's a time for every purpose under heaven. And there is a time to cry, and there's a time to laugh. There's a time for dancing. There's a time for mourning. There's a time for rejoicing. There are weddings going on. People are getting married. Our son told us that there was a guy who had been at the yeshiva. He was supposed to get married in some other location. And literally the night before the wedding, somebody said to the father, like, where's the wedding going to be? And the father's like, good question. I have no idea. They ended up having it at the yeshiva. And instead of the original guests, the yeshiva boys were the guests. Well, they weren't on they were not on the invitation list originally. This was like, oh, you know, these are like all the understudies. Like, oh, you need like a simcha? Here you go. Here's some people who come and dance and make a simcha for you. And guess what? Everyone knew exactly what to do, because now's the time for simcha. So the Jewish people are the people who can go back and forth between those 2 columns of a time to dance and a time to cry, a time to build, a time to tear down, a time to kill, and a time to heal. We are the ones who can bounce back and forth. And that's the only exercise I've actually been doing. So I did, and my exercise is all in my head. So this is something that the Jewish people excel at radically. We've had to, and we do, and this is our life, and this is what we do. And we should be proud of being able to do it and embrace whatever side of that, whichever column that we are in. So that was the message from Rebbetzin Mizrahi. And she said, the word for a soldier in Hebrew is a chayal, but we have a word that's very similar for a Jewish woman, which is an eshes chayil, a woman of valor. And that's the same word of chayal. Is like, we are the soldiers and we are holding down the home front. I saw a beautiful, sad, beautiful cartoon that showed a picture of a mother with her kids and saying, don't ever think that you're just at home. And she's holding back with herself like this big black cloud of the darkness and the evil that is out there, to give her children a chance to feel normal and protected, and that's what we're doing. So if in our home, even making a place where we can feel a moment of being able to take a breath and sing. This past Shabbos, the rabbis asked for everybody, if your synagogue is one that sings a little, sing a lot. And if you sing a lot, sing even more. And we did. We sang, danced, and made it joyful. It's like, that's what the soldiers want. They do not want us moping around being sad. Sadness weakens us spiritually. This doesn't mean that we can't grieve, but being sad weakens us. And we need to be strong and we need to be united. And it's through that path that we can do it. Then a number of people sent me another wonderful, inspiring message that I want to share with you. We in the Torah, in the Talmud, it says, oh, I'm sorry, Etta, yes, I just see you raise your hand.
Yes, I have a question. The hospital coverage is horrendous. Do you have any links that would put this into a more truthful perspective? Because I don't have any ammunition.
Oh, yeah. Go to Arutz Sheva, and it's not even just a different perspective. They have recordings of the Hamas people acknowledging that it's coming from their side. And they have the aerial recordings. They can see the rocket coming from Gaza, from a cemetery going into the parking lot. It's all there. It is the liars who are out there turning it against Israel. There's plenty of solid data. So Etta, I'll be in touch with you afterwards and can send you the link for Ruth Sheva, but it's all out there. It is absolutely unequivocal. There's not like two sides to this story. There is one.
I can send it to your email, Ellen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Oh, there's also World Israel News.
Yes, World Israel News. I'm sure everybody has
videos.
Yeah, and I'm sure.
Videos. It's an Israeli officer for 9 minutes to 10 minutes explaining with pictures of the parking lot, etc., and the everything. And he explains everything plain English. It's very simple, and it's what is that? I-24. Yes,
Israel 24.
Yeah, Israel 24. World.
Thank
Israel.
You, Marsha.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
Thank you.
Can you send it to us? Because I didn't see that.
Yes, it's all the same. It's all the same thing. I'll send it to you so you can see.
Same thing.
So
I have the audio.
Okay, and so the word to your friends. Okay.
I'll send it to your WhatsApp. Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right. So this was the next thing that I thought was so interesting. We are told that the redemption of the Jewish people from Egypt was the first redemption, but then there will be a second redemption. And we talk about it every time we say the Kedusha, every time that we say during the Shemona Esrei, the Amida, we talk about that God, that we will say for a second time the la'enei kol chai, in front of the eyes of all living, it'll be clear what's happening, so that there will be the second redemption. The story of the first redemption goes way back to Jacob. That Jacob, of course, was concerned about going down to Egypt to be reunited with Joseph, because he knew that going down to Egypt was going to be the signal of being in Egypt before the first redemption, and that the prophecy was going to come true about the oppression of the Jewish people. And God told him, like, don't be afraid, I will redeem you and I will remember you. Before Jacob dies, and he tells Joseph, and he gives the password. There was going to be a password for the Jewish people, and it was going to be Pakod Yifkod. I shall surely remember you. I will redeem you. And that this password got passed down to Serach bat Asher, which is Asher's granddaughter, who was the one who says who played the harp to tell Jacob that Joseph was still alive. And it says that the merit of that she lived a very, very long time, that she lived throughout the entire Exodus and went into the land of Israel. But she was also the one who told Moshe where Joseph's bones were hidden in the Nile so that he could get them out and take them out of Egypt. So that she had the password. When Moshe goes to the Jewish people after God talks to him at the burning bush, we're going to get to that in just one moment, Gabi, is that when she gets to that, to going into Egypt to speak to Pharaoh, remember that Moshe has been away from Egypt for 40 years, and he comes back to Egypt as the savior of the Jewish people. Now, Jewish people are always skeptical about everything. Can you imagine how skeptical they were? Like, I've come to save you. God told me to come and save you. It's like, yeah, right. I think, what are you talking about? But God gives him the code. And so we're going to take a look at that. And it is on page 305 in your Chumash, which is Exodus chapter 3, verse 16. Page 305. Let's take a look at that. 305, God is talking to Moshe, and he says, again, this is going to be verse 16. And God says to Moshe, go and gather the elders of Israel and say to them, Hashem, the God of your forefathers, has appeared to me, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I have surely remembered you and what is done to you in Egypt. That phrase, I have remembered you, is in the Hebrew next to the letters Yud and Zayin for those who have the stone Chumash, but the word is Pakod Pakadati. I have surely remembered you. This is the same kind of remembering when it says that God remembered Sarah and she conceived Isaac. This kind of remembering is remembering, taking count, and not just like, oh yeah, I remember that. This is like, I've remembered, and now it's time to act. Okay, now it's time to make good on the promise. Pakod Pakadati. What is this Pakod Pakadati? We say, like, in the future, there will be a Pakod Pakadati. Now, for many of us that we've been learning together for a long time, many years, some of us decades together, we've talked a lot about what's the scenario going to be like? Will the Jews ever come together? Yes, we stood as one with one heart at Mount Sinai, but look at us. We can't do it. I'm like, I'm here to tell you that we are ready now. We are ready now for God to save us. Pakod Pakadati. So what's the hint to us that this could be the time? God willing, it is the time. So we started a new year. We're now in the year 5784. The Jewish year is, if you look on a good Jewish calendar, you will find the Hebrew letters that spell out the gematria of the year. So if you look at your Jewish calendar, you're going to see that it says Taf Shin Pei Dalet. Taf Shin Pei Dalet. The gematria of that is Taf is 400, Shin is 300, Pei is 80, and Dalet is 4. So it adds up to 784. We don't include the century. We don't include the 5 for 5784. We figure if people don't know which millennium they're in, then they've got a really big problem. So we just go with the 784. That's how it's recorded. Now I'm going to rewind the clock a little bit. Remember in past years, we've talked about at Purim that there were hints in the letters that in the Megillah where it lists the hanging of Haman's name, of Haman's sons, and that those letters were the gematria of the date for the Nuremberg hangings. Okay, that was the date of the year, guys. Like mind-boggling. And one of the questions we asked was, what did people think that those letters meant before the Holocaust? Those letters have been written like that for centuries and centuries. What did they think it was? Now, because of our rigorous requirements in scribing our texts, nobody ever said, oh, I think it was just a mistake. Let's just make those letters big. We'll just make, it must have been a scribal error. It's like, no, no, no. If they were written small, they are meant to be written small, and no, these are the small letters. These have a message. But until the time came, it's like we didn't know what it meant. And now we know what it means. So the truth is, that's going to be how the entire Torah is going to be for us. We're reading it and studying it in our prayers. I won't say we're going through the motions, because God forbid we're not going through the motions, but we can't understand it all because we're not at a place of the clarity of the moment where it was going to make sense to us in a new way. It's gonna be like, it always said that. We just couldn't take it in because we didn't have a frame of reference for it. So what are we getting to here? It says, I was thinking, because every year for, I don't know, decades, someone has come out with some sort of an acronym based on the letters for whatever year it is. Like that's the first letters of some phrase, and they like, this is the phrase for this year. And I hadn't seen anything for this year yet. I hadn't seen anything like, what are they saying that Taf Shin Pei Dalet means? I don't know. You could create your own sentence. You could say, Todah She Po, whatever, Dalet. Thank you that here is a door. I mean, you can make up a saying with those words, but usually there's some sort of a saying that goes with the year. I hadn't seen anything, but now there is something, which is that word, that Taf Shin Pei Dalet, which equals 784, is going to equal the words pakod pakadati. I have surely remembered you, and the time for the redemption is here. Now, before you go and check that all out, you're going to see that there's just one little problem, which is that in the Torah, pakod pakadati is spelled, hold on one second. I just lost my place on it. Where is it? Oh, pakod pakadati is spelled Pei Kuf Dalet, and there is no vav in the word pakod. The word pakod should be spelled Pei Kuf Vav Dalet. Instead, it's just the little dot, which of course in the Torah it doesn't even appear. So it's pakod. This word, when a word is spelled without that vav, that o sound, it's called chaser. It's missing something. So pakod pakadati, you could say if you added up pakod pakadati the way it's written in the Torah, you're not going to get 784. You're going to get 784 minus 6. Okay, you're going to get 784 minus 6 because there is no vav. The pakod pakadati is only 784 when it's spelled with a vav. If you take, so now you can write this down. Pei kuf Vav Dalet pakod. Pakadati, Pei, Kuf, Dalid, Taf, Yud. Basically, it's the same as what it says in the Torah, except you're adding that Vav back in instead of having it be missing. You get 784. You get this year. Questions on this verse? Helene, you look like you have a question.
Can you do that again? I'm sorry.
So do you have a chumash in front of you to be able to see?
I do,
Okay, so
but I'm
look
not
at,
sure where that word it is.
okay, so
I've
let me
got
just,
the
that's okay.
stone.
Yeah, which
Tonight.
chapter is it? Because I have the.
It's
Chapter
Yeah, it-
3,
It was
Chapter
chapter
three,
3,
verse 16. It's the
16. Yeah, we got that.
end of verse 16. Okay, and it says, or I'm sorry, in the middle of it, Pakod Pakadati. Pakod is spelled, Gabi said the official word, let's say chaser, like it's missing the cholam, it's missing the vav, and it just, but it's pronounced pakod. You can see there's a little tiny dot above the kuf that tells you to pronounce it pakod, but it doesn't have the vav in there. Pakod Pakadati, and that, if you put the vav in and you make it malay and you make it full, then you get it 784. What is the significance of this? So of course, people online were like, it's not the same. You can't add letters, blah, blah, blah. So you know me, I am a stickler for gematria. If it's off by one, I'm like, I'm not using it. It's like cheating. I can't do it. But I think this is different because that was the first redemption. It wasn't the final redemption. The first redemption was chaser. It was not full. It was getting us out of Egypt and getting us on the way, but clearly, because what do we say? At the end of every holiday, L'Shana Haba, Mi-Yerushalyim Habniyah, next year, and restored, rebuilt Jerusalem. We're not there yet. So that redemption was the first one, and it says it will be like it, not exactly the same. It will be more so. It'll be the second time. It'll be in the eyes of all of humanity, not just in front of the Egyptians. It'll be everyone will see it and everyone will know. Like, sounds like the first one was chaser. The first one was missing something, but it was obviously amazing. But the full one will be malay. It will be full, and the vav will be restored, and it will be pakod, pakadati. I have surely remembered you, and the time is now. The time is now.
Amen. Alevai.
Having that be like, this is the theme for this year. Now, that's all true, and at the same time, we have to still merit it. We still have to be able to hold ourselves together. But don't think that we can't, because we are, and we can continue. And people, I mean, you're seeing, again, like Haredi people embracing the soldiers and feeding them. It's the Haredi men who are identifying all the bodies that people have been killed. It is because they are trained to do that, and they're the ones who are doing it. And it's like, there is such like a glomming together of Achdut. It is just absolutely. Thank you very much, Etta. Thank you. I was going to actually say that, but thank you for reminding me, because Vav, which means a Vav is a hook, and Vav, when it's used grammatically, means and. So when there is connection, that means there is a Vav. That's why they have what are called Vav Torahs, where it's written in a way where every column of a Sefer Torah, of a Torah scroll, starts with a Vav, so that you know that it goes with the column before. It's called a Vav Torah. I don't know how they figured that out without a computer. A Vav Torah, every single column. I think there are a few little exceptions because like Song of the Sea or something, but everyone starts with a Vav. And we know that the Sefer Torah is compared to the Jewish people. We are the letters in the Torah. This beautiful art that shows the Jewish people looking like the letters surrounding Mount Sinai. And it's like, we are the Torah. We are the Torah. God, Torah, and the Jewish people are one. When we are connected, as we talked about last week, the way we were going is like as if we were cutting up the Torah and throwing it to the wind. We were cutting ourselves up. And now everybody is like gluing ourselves back together again. And someone say, well, what about them? Or what about this? It's like, not now, not now. There's time, God willing, we'll have the time to argue about the things to argue about and finding a new way to argue about it. Because Jews have to argue about something. They'll be arguing. But we don't have to be tearing each other apart. And it is absolutely mind-boggling. So we know we can do it. Hashem has given us a glimmer. Horrific that this is what it took. Absolutely horrific. And we have a tremendous, incredible opportunity. So pakod pakadati, this is what Hashem is ready to do for us. And this is the time. And what's going to make the difference is how we are. So yes, I am constantly on my phone. My poor husband has to hear, I said, can I vent? Can I rant like for like, I don't know, an hour, like saying who all I'm upset with and whatever. But in the end of the day, what's going to determine it is al haTorah, the al ha'avodah, the al gemilut chasadim, on the Torah, on our prayers, and on our acts of loving kindness. That's it. That is the power of Am Yisrael. And even, the president said, Biden being here, that seeing the Jewish people and our commitment and our enthusiasm, whatever, not saying anything else about it, but everybody is seeing that, and that's what they should see amongst the Jewish people. And to see the people dancing, they had music tonight for the soldiers. They were dancing. Sound like there's a lot of Sephardi soldiers, so they were like a lot of Sephardi music. It sounded like there was a wedding going on. There wasn't a wedding. It was the soldiers dancing and singing before they went to do their military exercises around our community. So it was like, because you have to be able, time for war, and there's a time for dancing, time for singing. And if they can dance and sing, then certainly we can as well. So to please find the times for joy and happiness amidst this tragedy, and to really be out there with people in the world. I find it heartbreaking to see what's going on our college campuses, these places that are supposedly of higher learning, higher education. I saw the University of Pennsylvania, where my daughter is an alum, and people are going down unabashedly saying, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Israel, we, whatever convict you of genocide, you can't hide genocide. And these are people walking down. If I were a Jewish student there, and Penn has always been a very, very supportive, Jewish-friendly, Orthodox-friendly place to be, I would be petrified. I would really be petrified. So it's not just a couple places, and it's not just the extremists. There are a lot of people out there who don't know the difference between good and evil. Every morning when we wake up in our blessings, the first thing we say is thanking God that make us the difference between that someone to be able to tell the difference between day and night. You're like, well, who doesn't know the difference between day and night? It's like, clearly some people do not. And if somebody has a narrative that precludes them seeing it, you can hit them over the head with whatever. There was a professor at Cornell who said that watching what Hamas did was, what did he use the word? He was euphoric. He was
exhilarating.
That's right. He was exhilarated by what he saw. Now, that anybody could say this at all, that they could think it, that they could say it, and that they would be allowed to say it and not completely pulverized for saying it, is beyond my comprehension. So I have my issues with Hamas, but they're Hamas. What's wrong with everybody else? So we all have our work, and the Israel is asking for people to be ambassadors of truth in the world. I know we're so good-hearted, and we like to say that we're so good-hearted. We always want to say, there are two sides to the story. There aren't. There's some stories there are not two sides. There's not two sides, period. If anyone would like, there is about a half-hour long, beautiful, in-depth, but followable explanation of the history of Israel and of its people who've come in saying what they're saying, that goes through, that gives you a lot to focus on. And I'm happy to send it to you. I didn't want to send it out to everybody. What are you saying here?
להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Yeah, l'chavchin ben yom, yes, thank you. Yes, I was getting all tongue twisted. L'chavchin ben yom. L'chavchin is like to be able to tell, like from Bina, to be able to tell the bochein, to differentiate. Bochein is to differentiate, right? L'chavchin ben yom v'bein lilah.
Discern, yeah. What did you say that you could send us? Sorry, can you repeat that?
It's a movie?
It's about a half-hour video. It's pretty, it's in depth, but you can easily follow it, and it will give you facts in a very, I'd say he's very matter of fact. He's opposed to the current Israeli government, so I'm like not on his side politically, but he has a very clear, factual presentation about what Israel, like from an historical perspective to the present. I found it very compelling. It's funny, a friend of mine sent it to me saying, I think you would find this compelling and not Jewish. And I'm like, yes, you're right, I did, and I do. So I will send it out to you. Feel free, I'll send you the link for it so that you can have to everybody. And then pass it along. But it needs to be for people who want to think. If people want a slogan, it's not going to really do that. This is really giving you a lot of good information. It might be for some people, but it's worth hearing because people need facts. Because the emotional connection that people have, people's emotions are very ephemeral. You know, 1 minute they can be with you, and the next minute, yes, it has dates, it has everything, all the information you would want.
Please send it.
I will send it out to all of you. And
Send it, please.
I found it really interesting because we don't really think about this. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the current situation needs no historical framework, but a lot of people who need historical information. And I think it's helpful for us to have it too, because we're so kind-hearted. We start to, like, maybe we're just being really provincial and small-minded, and we're just thinking about ourselves. And maybe there is another side to this. So I think that having information is really helpful. So information, sharing that, acts of kindness, tefillah, prayer, Torah study, any mitzvah you can do, tzedakah to all the worthy causes. I would suggest Stand With Us Israel. It's very easy to give. U.S. tax deductible, all of that. You can go on there, Stand With Us, donate, standwithus.com. You'll get to the donate page, or you can even do standwithus.com/donate, and you'll get to the donate page. They're very good at getting the money out there, and they do not keep anything. They don't take a cut of anything, so the money goes directly. So this is the update. Yes, Andy.
I asked, I didn't get the third thing, Torah, acts of kindness, and there was one other.
Prayer.
Prayer.
The second, the middle one.
Thank you.
Avodah is word, but it means prayer.
Avodah is prayer for us because we don't have the temple service right now. Our temple is not there at the moment. Though that was one of my plans, is that Gaza should like shoot a rocket and like destroy their own whatever thing there without any of our intervention. That would be interesting. So
we'll be blamed for that.
oh, for sure. For sure. I said, even if we had the tsunami, they were blaming Israel for dolphins that they said the Mossad had sent to spy on Egypt. I'm like, actually a really good idea, but I don't think we did that. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So this is our tactic, and we are supposed to do what's called hishtadlut. Our hishtadlut is we are supposed to take reasonable, appropriate precautions. It is reasonable and appropriate to wage war, and it is reasonable, appropriate to destroy. You'll hear people say it's not proportional. And someone says proportional is you want us to go into Gaza and rape and murder and butcher children. Like, not going to happen. So what is proportional? So there was a great speaker, not Jewish, who really gave it to the British, because they're the big, like it's a rugby game or something. It's not proportional, you know, like you pass the ball and smacked you off your horse. It's like, this is not a game. So The Torah believes in wiping out your enemies. That is a Torah perspective. Someone comes to kill you, you preferably first. If you can't kill them first, you certainly kill them second. So we need to feel more secure about who we are and what we are doing. And what proportional means is to prevent even a larger loss of life. That's what proportional means, is to prevent a larger life. There is a dictum in the Talmud. There's a discussion, and any of you who took Milton and the ethics class, we talk about two people have a flask. Two people are in a deserted island, or they're lost or whatever, and there's one flask of water that belongs to one person. If he shares it, and this is the for sure thing, Talmudic discussion where everything is 100%. If he shares it with the other person, they will both die. If he drinks it, he will live and the other person will die. What should he do?
Drink it himself.
He drinks it for himself. He must drink it for himself, and the person who gives the halacha is Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva is the one, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ze klal gadol b'Torah. Love your neighbor as yourself. This is the fundamental principle of the Torah. But love your neighbor as yourself assumes that you have to love yourself first. So we come first. Bottom line, we come first. It doesn't mean other people aren't on our list. We come first. Yes, I think Ishmael, Amalek, whatever, they definitely have an Amalek approach. Ishmael never did have the approach to wipe out the Jewish people, other than, I shouldn't say that, he was going to kill Isaac, so that would have wiped out the Jewish people. But Amalek, we've always wondered too, remember we've had that conversation, who's Amalek? I was like, I don't know. We know them. It's like, if you cannot see this for what it is, this is Amalek in the most obvious form known to man at this time, and is in our backyard, in our backyard. So we need to understand that. And, we had Jewish and those prophets, people, it was just like something that we could kind of sit and study and enjoy, the conversation and the explorations. Like, my friends, we are living it right now. I don't know what the answer is going to be. I can tell you what my Benjamin, yes, I saw that. I can tell you what my son Benjamin said today. He said, well, the way this started certainly caught us by surprise. So I can't imagine how the end is, what the surprise ending is for the end. So we don't know. We don't know. All we know is that we are part of a bigger plan. And, none of us knows how long we're going to live on this planet. We don't know. But we do know that we can control who we are, the choices we make, and the sides we take. That is what we have control over. We don't have control over anything else. And
talking about the British, you should see the memes going around mocking the BBC and the fact that the BBC won't call Hamas terrorists. And this is from Britain, and they are ripping into the BBC. And the funniest one I saw the one you mentioned. The funniest one I saw was a picture of an adult shaking a finger at a girl going, if you grow up to laugh, you'll have to work for the BBC.
Yes, that would be it.
Telling lies. You'll grow up and work for the BBC. My mum sends me them. So
I have to tell you, like, we're like Selena. We're used to people who have a British accent being proper and appropriate and like so educated and refined. And so the cognitive dissonance for us of hearing people who are these refined, civilized people saying these outrageous things is like, well, wait a minute, they sound really proper and good. So are they right? Like, maybe we're wrong.
No, but then you hear the refined, cognitive, terrible sarcasm thrown right back at them. And that's what we find funny, is you sound like you know what you're talking about. And that's why that guy who said about proportional was unbelievable.
He was great.
He was, and then my mum sent me something else. There was someone called Dominic Murray, Murray.
Yes.
Who spoke in a shul, and he quoted from Megillus Ruth, and I'm like, That is the most beautiful, and that was beautiful
Yes,
English.
I started to cry. This was somebody, I'll just share what Selena's talking about, somebody not Jewish who spoke in a shul, British, beautiful, on the right page. And he quoted from Book of Ruth, and he basically said, you know, your people are my people, your God is my God. Wherever thou goest, I will go. And it was so
Yeah.
touching. And this was after a very lengthy
One of the best
presentation.
speeches I've ever heard anybody
Oh.
make, Jewish or non-Jewish. And then, I don't know if you saw this. This is a famous US interviewer. He was interviewing Danny Ayalon, a previous senior diplomat. And Danny Ayalon said to him, he said, you know what? There's a line drawn in the sand now. The West has a choice. Is it going to fight for its value system? Because if it doesn't, then this is what we face. And I thought he was, he said, well, you know, it's not like Israel are alone in this. Like the whole
Right.
Western civilized world has got to. Anyway, I have to send you, if you haven't seen it, I'll send you the link.
Send me that, I'd appreciate it. And I'll send you out what I have, so anybody can feel free to join. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. We should be chazak,
Be
should
well.
be strong and strong, strengthen one another, be there for each other. Whatever you're feeling is legitimate, and being like on a roller coaster is also. And just remember that the Jewish people, and somebody said, I don't know what people always feel obligated to say this. Well, Israel's not perfect. It's like nobody said anything about perfect.
Yeah.
Israel is a good country made up of good people.
Yeah.
Like you. That's who this country is. And the people who are fighting are my 5 nephews and everybody else's nephews and fathers and sons and daughters. And they're just this, you know, this isn't like a trained, you know, mercenaries or people like this. This is Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, defending Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, Medinat Yisrael, the state of Israel, and humanity really everywhere. We are fighting the war for all of humanity. And one day they will thank us if they haven't quite managed yet, but one day they will. All right.
Ellen,
I want to wish you
Sorry.
I want to wish you you should have a good Shabbos. That's already Wednesday night for me, so I can wish you a good Shabbos. And I'll look forward, God willing, to seeing you next week. And feel free to be in touch. And I apologize if I don't get back to you. It's because I'm too busy scrolling. We're washing soldiers' uniforms, so I'm going to go mend his pants so his underwear doesn't stick out.
Ellen,
Good job.
Yes, yes, Mani.
did you see the link between last week's parsha and this week's parsha? You mentioned this. I wasn't here at the beginning about how last week's parsha talks about how
Yes.
that people will be defiled and humiliated, but you'll be comforted. And then this week's parsha talks about getting rid of Hamas. And I'm like,
Yes. That's what we talked about at the beginning.
okay, because I missed the beginning. Yeah, I was like, whoa. All right, thanks.
Yes. It's God's plan to get rid of Hamas, so
Thank
we're on it.
Thank you so much for your hizuk.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining me. It gives me chizuk to see you. I love you. And remember, 11 o'clock in the morning, Denver time, 10 o'clock in the morning, California time, for the Shema Yisrael in unity with all of the Jewish people around the world.
Thank you,
Every day.
Ellen.
Thank you,
Every day.
Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Love you. Bye.
Thank you. Love you. Bye, Manny.
Bye-bye.
You.
Thank you, Ellen. Ellen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Every day we say the Shema at 11 from now on? In Denver.
In Denver.
Okay. And then one more thing that I didn't get the second and the third part. So all what we can do is what we can control. We can only control what we can do. And then you said 2 more things and I missed them. We can only.
I'm not sure.
What we
can
do.
control what we do, what we say, the choices we make. We don't get to control when we're coming in or out of this world, even though we'd like to. And you know, I remember somebody, God forbid, I remember somebody passed away. They had, like, God forbid, they had a heart attack on the way to making I don't know, they were making a shiva call and they had a heart attack on the way. And somebody's like, how could God do that to a person? Like, they were on their way to do a mitzvah and then, like, they died. And I'm like, you wanted him to be on the way of doing an avera? You wanted him to be on the way of doing a sin? Like, your last thing that you decided to do was something wrong? I hope that I'm in the middle of doing a mitzvah when it's my time, because That's it. And I'm going to be like, and we don't know when that time's going to be. None of us know. And so we should busy ourselves with doing the right thing always. This doesn't mean like making ourselves crazy. We should always be thinking the right thing, saying the right thing, or doing the right thing, whatever that thing is. And to use our intuition to be able to decide what that is. If you want advice and want to talk to somebody about it, I'm sure you can talk to someone. I'm happy to talk to you about what that should be, but it could vary even throughout the day. Women have always been considered the ones who are not on the front line, but are in the tent of the strategy tent, like the colonels or whatever, they're planning the strategy. And the strategy has to vary depending on the circumstances. How many resources do the troops have right now? How much energy do I have? How much time do I have? What are the needs? Who is, who's top of the list right now? What's important for me? There's so many considerations. A person on the front line cannot make that kind of decision. They have to be that the commander says forward and they go forward. They can't say, well, I was feeling a little tired. I think I'll have a coffee first and then I'll go forward. It's like not happening on the front line, but in the tent it is. And so we're the ones who have to think of what that's going to be, primarily for us, but our families as well. If we have other people in our lives, of how we can impact them and strategize with them, also that. Because our mood and our tone is going to impact a lot of people, and people are feeling it. And, the soldiers are saying that. People are like, I can feel it. You can feel it. Give yourself a steady diet of inspiration and make sure you look at really the great things that are happening for the Jewish people, and your hearts will be inspired and you will be energized to do what you need to do.
Amen. So then that means we need you every day, because daily inspiration, and that's you. So can we have a lesson every day now?
Yeah, no, all these little clips, Gabi, I'll send to you. You can get this. It's called Share a Smile. It's like all of these little videos on WhatsApp of all these great things. Like there's this little girl doing a thing. She looks like she's about 9 or 10, and she says, my teacher taught me that there's 2 kinds of conversations, ones that are helpful and ones that are hurtful. A hurtful conversation is telling a horror story that makes you upset and sad. A helpful conversation is a story about a miracle or something nice that makes you happy and gives you energy. And then when we're feeling happy and strong, then we can do what we're supposed to do. And that's what we're supposed, and so this is this little person who made this video. So everybody's doing what they can do. And
helpful versus what was the other one, the first one?
What was that?
The conversation can be helpful or
hurtful or helpful.
Hurtful. Okay, thank you. That's very cute. Yeah, I would love to.
Yes.
Will you send out the Share a Smile, how you get onto that one?
Oh, it's not Share a Smiles like how it's Share a Smile. I sent that to you. You're actually on it.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
That's the WhatsApp group.
It's the one. Okay. Thank you.
I think it's called Share a Smile. But sounds a lot like Shira Smiles, who's a teacher.
That's right, Andy. Good for you. I would love to see that too, because you lift us up. Because I'll be honest, I want to call the New York Times and say, just like you rushed to believe Hamas and put on the first page that we did it, can you now write, so sorry, correction, it was in Israel? I want to see, but they will not have the courage to do that, will they? Shall I call? I don't know who to call. How can it be that? And even if they do it, people say, well, the first impression is what stays, and people hate us. And so the morale is very low here. So thank you for lifting it with the second redemption. Then I try to lift all my family all over the world that is thinking that, I don't want to even say, that we'll lose. Let's put it like that we'll lose. And I'm like, no, we can't. That means this is a world.
There's no option. There's no option.
For the whole world. It's not just for us.
It's not just for us. Anything for the Jewish people is never just for us. It is always for all of humanity. Remember, God said that we are a kingdom of priests. We are ministers to all of humanity. What happens to us is, we're called the canaries in the mine. whatever they do to us, they have planned for everybody else. And they say it. And we were like, oh no, but you don't mean it, right? It's like, no, we do mean it. We mean we want to annihilate every Jew and Christian on the planet and replace it with an Islamic caliphate. It's like, but no, if you had more land because you already have 4 billion square miles and you need Israel too, that's, you really want peace and jobs, right? No, we want to eliminate the Jews and the Christians. But if you have jobs, like, because all people want the same thing, and so that's what you want, like, no, and here's our charter, here's our guidebook for how to do horrific things to people. This is what we want. And it's like the Western mind is like a little black box. In goes what they say, and in our little mind, we turn it into, oh no, they don't mean that. They mean they're oppressed, and when they feel more whatever, happier, then they'll want to live with the Jewish people. I am sorry to tell you that is not the equation. That's not the equation. Now, there are individual people. What's interesting is there are people in Iran who are speaking up to support Israel.
Whoa, can you send me that?
Individual. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I wish I could find it. I tell Steve, I saw this, I said this. I'm on so many different things, I have no idea where it is. I'm not talking about a mass of people. I'm talking about there are individuals who are having the courage in Iran that takes tremendous courage to speak up and say, we love the Jewish people, we love Israel. We're sick of, like, what the leadership is doing here. So, but the Gazans are a little bit different story because they've been indoctrinated for many, many decades. And so there was a different story there. How do you have a mother who's happy to have her son be a shaheed, a martyr? What do people who have, even if you don't have your own child, you were a child who had a mother, like, were they not the most overprotective thing? Like, they did not want you to even go outside without, a coat. It's like, oh, what I want for you is to blow yourself up and kill people. It's like, no, we can't understand it. We cannot understand it. And so we turn it into something else that makes sense to us, except that it's false. And if there was one Palestinian group outside of Israel that was speaking up, I would have a little bit different opinion. But I don't know about you. I've been doing a lot of scrolling. I've seen zero.
I think I found one, but I don't know if it's Palestine. I have to send it to you. Really very courageous. In the European Union, he spoke. I'll send it to you. But I don't know if
like
it's
a person, yes. And usually they get killed, the family gets killed.
Oh, probably they'll kill him now. Yeah, I don't know if it's Palestinian. I think so, but not for sure. Arab for sure. He had the kafia, and I could not believe how he spoke about us. It's like we need more of those. My friend sent it to me. It's unique.
Yeah.
One. If he's Palestine, maybe he's Arab. I don't know. I have to look back because that.
So again, I'm not saying everybody. I am not saying everybody, but that's the equivalent of in Nazi Germany. We know that there were Germans who loved the Jews. We know Germans who risked their lives to save Jews. They were righteous Gentiles. But we couldn't not have a war against Germany because there were people who were righteous there and who were innocent. At a certain point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, you feel horrible that anybody would have to suffer who doesn't deserve it. But at some point, you can't do that unless we were able to extract those individuals, which we can't. Right. We have to go with what's happening on the ground. So hopefully the government will have the courage and wherewithal to do what they need to do.
Yeah, and it's very not simple. It's a guerrilla war, and they know their land much better than the one who comes in. Very dangerous. It is so dangerous. It's very people, and who knows where they're hiding, and what if the hostages are with them, and then we have to kill Hamas, but not it's just we have to pray that we need.
And I have to tell you also, Hashem needs to help us. That is the only option right now. Is Hashem.
Yeshua and Nisim. We need miracles because it's very complicated. Where do we find them? And they're all scattered and
miracles, Yeshua, and the thing is we are not supposed to immerse ourselves in all the what ifs. That's not for us to think about.
Okay.
It's too demoralizing and it saps all of our energy. We're supposed to focus on what we can do. And what we can do is to be supportive of one another, support Israel in word, deed, action, everything, online with friends to the extent you can. That's what we're supposed to do. Daven, learn Torah, do acts of kindness. That's our strategy. That's our military strategy. It's always been our strategy.
Thank you. Because it saps energy. Yeah, and Steve is calling
Yes.
you.
He's going to go tie tzitzis because they have still like 100 more, 50 more
He knows
to do.
how?
So he's going to learn. Yeah, he's going to learn how.
Kol hakavod. Hi,
Yeah.
Steve. Kol hakavod. Yeah, I love your messages, and I don't know what I would do without your class because, and then I descend during the week, and then I can't wait for your class, and then I elevate my family because I don't know, what do you mean? Israel has to exist, like you have no option, and we are the eternal people and all that. So I try to do.
Yeah, we are the eternal people, and
Some non-Jews are
what can I
saying
say? What can I say? It's like that list from A to Z of he is so angry and so in awe and so brokenhearted and so blessed. I mean, somebody said, are you gonna go back to Denver? And I'm like, no. Like, are you gonna leave? I'm like, absolutely not. So it's also interesting. I just want to say this, the other thing that's happening is, and I mentioned this last week, the turbocharging of our Aliyah process of becoming part of the community. Because it's like, being an army buddies, like when you are in something with somebody, it just changes things. And even, like with the Israelis. So I don't know if I told you, like I've been on this campaign to make myself available to help fold laundry and to do dishes. So I almost had a taker. A Israeli woman down the street from us here. Her husband's away, they have kids, and she said, yes, she could really use some help. So I'm like so excited. And then I found out her last name was Frankel, which is the same as our daughter Audrey. So I'm like, oh, you even have the same last name as my daughter. I feel like I'm helping my daughter, blah, blah, blah. So then she calls me tonight. It's like, my mom surprised me and came. And so she's doing the dishes and folding the laundry. So I don't need any help. So I said, well, okay. But I don't know how long she can stay, and I'll just check in with you. And so now I'm just like checking in with certain women who said no. But you know what? She said, even though I don't need, just knowing that you wanted to help me and you don't even know me,
So
makes
sweet.
me so happy. But
Amazing.
that's what everybody is doing. Everybody is doing that.
That's a very special community. I don't know that
That's
Everybody is doing that. It's so inspiring,
right.
right?
It's on the whole country.
The whole country.
Last Thursday, I actually did that. I helped somebody fold laundry for hours, and I did all her dishes, and
Oh, nice.
yeah.
So you took the idea from Ellen. That's amazing.
Well, I mean, I was in Israel. I just got back.
Oh, wow, you're in Israel and you got
Yeah.
out. I thought El Al stopped flying. Is it? I guess it's flying.
No,
again?
no, LL is
no,
totally flying.
Yeah.
The
What?
plane
Still flying?
was
I
full.
thought it stopped flying. Is it flying again?
It
LL.
never stopped.
never
LL
stopped.
never stopped flying.
Wow. People said that you have to take a boat to Cyprus now. There's no planes.
No. What that was about, that was the embassy. They sent letters out to all the Americans in Israel, and they just said, if you have so much trouble getting out and you want our help, here's the option. And they just said, as an option, we could take a boat to Cyprus and go here and there. They're like, forget it. I'm in LL. I'm fine.
It's fine, because I have someone that went to get his brother out, and they told them in the flight, there's no more flights now, so you cannot come, you cannot get out. But in the end, there was some, maybe from I don't know how they got out because I guess they decided to continue one more day, but I thought they stopped, but maybe they resumed. There was
No, because
something.
I have friends who are on the flight tonight and just came to, it landed at JFK this afternoon.
Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah,
it could be,
they're still flying. I mean, on my flight, I saw a couple from Denver. They had to wait 10 days from when they booked it like 10 days ago. But all you have to do is just, go on LL and just find the opening. But LL is totally flying, and I can tell you, they're doing an amazing job. I mean, when I got to the airport, their security is so tight. I had to check in with like 5 different security guards on the way in, but they were so efficient. They just boom, boom, boom. And I went
So
through,
you-
and they were all so friendly, and they were smiling and helpful. And
so you went to Israel after the war started?
No,
I just
Charles been here
no,
since Rosh Hashanah.
yeah,
you were
I
already
was
there.
yeah, I arrived there before Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, a long time. You have family. Got it.
Well, sort of family. I mean, people like Ellen Hutt.
Friends
Wow,
like
that's,
family.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
There's a lot of friends.
You don't forget the times of war. We all become brothers. I experienced it twice, Yom Kippur and then Mifrat Shani. And it's like people, family came to check our mezuzot. It was like not safe to walk at all. And like just to check how we're doing. We're in the Machon Weizmann. But I know you have to go. It's late. And I'll tell you another time more. I love you so much. Thank you. It was
Thank you,
amazing.
and thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for everything.
Love you.
Love you guys. All right. Okay,
Right.
be well. Only good news, good
Kol
things,
hakavod.
good
And
thoughts.
Yasher Koach, really so helpful, better than any medicine or vitamin. Thank you. I needed it today. Okay, all the best. Laila
Bye-bye.
Hello.
Lila,
Bye.